So here is a statement that I often hear these days. The more plants we put in, on and within a building, the more sustainable is the development. Personally, I think this quantitative approach where, more is nonsense. Do you agree?
I think we need to be honest about why we're doing green walls and vertical greeneries. I happen to think that they perform different functions. It is okay to do green walls or vertical greenery for purely aesthetic reasons, but you must be honest with yourself, right? Similarly, if you want to sell your sustainable credentials, then you have to make sure that the green walls that you install are performative in nature and adds value to the environment. So really, it's really about honesty.
Break it down for me. What are the options when it comes to building integrated greenery? Where can you put it?
Well, I think let's take a step back, right, and talk about the whole purpose of vertical greenery, right? If you allow me to just explain the context of how this came about, right?
Sure.
It came about because of climate change, thermal comfort, and the fact that we are growing our cities, right? And when we grow cities, we remove environment for vegetation. Right, we have basically changed our environment. So, I think out of good intentions, right, the planners and the designers were thinking, well, how can we provide spaces for nature? So I think the original intention was good, all right, but maybe the reasoning has been lost through time. And the application maybe has really missed this big picture, right? So providing spaces for greenery has now become more fashionable on buildings, right? Green replacement is a big topic, right? So the question is, how do we and when do we do this? And this is something that needs careful thought before solutions are provided.
I see greenery integrated into buildings in two very distinct ways. First, there is the envelope-driven approach where we see vegetated facades or roofs. Then there is the one which depends on architectural form, where the building itself kind of wraps around or adjusts itself or creates porosities, where you get terraces and you get atria and you get sky decks.
I suspect the first approach has to do with maybe ticking the boxes. They're trying to achieve certain plot ratios, trying to score some points with some of these, like awards, like Green Mark Awards, and try to achieve a certain ratio of greenery versus built environment. And the easiest way is, of course, to green the vertical surfaces, because this is the surface that is most available for extension of the greenery. The other typology you mentioned more relates to really the imagination of a designer, right, or an architect who's trying to create interesting spaces so that the buildings would have a different experience, and that tend to lead to this juxtaposition of different green solutions, right? Green facade solutions all throughout the landscape. And I think they both have a role. If your start point is how do I achieve certain KPIs, be it to improve biodiversity, right, or to reduce the temperature on the surface of the concrete slab, right, then the solutions become a lot more specific.
Let's list some of these KPIs, shall we? I think it's worth kind of going through them one by one, and I'd love to get your take on it. So let's start with the first one, which is that greenery on facades or even within the fabric of the building have an impact on cooling or energy demand, right?
We haven't specifically measured the energy demands, but what we have measured is the difference in the temperature on the surface of the concrete slab. So, for example, in our project in Kampong Admiralty, we had pre-construction and post-construction studies on the bare roof, right? So pre-construction, before we installed the green roof, on a really hot sunny day, it was 52 degrees thereabouts, right? But once the green roof came in, it was in the region of 30 degrees, 28 degrees.
Right,
It's
right.
substantial. Imagine the difference of 22 degrees
Mm,
and how it would impact on the heat that's embodied within the concrete slab that can be transferred down into the spaces below. To me itself, that would translate into a substantial reduction in cooling load.
mm,
So that's one very clear, measurable KPI.
mm. This is one aspect of this. The other is what is often referred to as the biophilic aspect of what greenery does.
Yep.
So the aesthetic of greenery on facades improves psychological well-being of occupants or anybody who comes into context. Is there is there an idea of what this direct impact looks like and how much it is, and how do we know that it's happening?
We actually have data on this. Once again, it's comfort and morality.
Mm,
Instead of having bare concrete roof, why not have beautiful green terrace, sky-rise greenery? And we need to justify that it worked. So there was a post construction survey done by a third party, right? Measuring the change in biodiversity, right? Pre and post construction. So what they did was, for reference, they went to a nearby pocket park and measured the biodiversity there, right? And they did the same for this park that is actually elevated between 6 to 10 stories above ground level, right? Built on an integrated hub. And they found that the biodiversity, the numbers were similar. And I think that's only possible because it was planned at the start, right? We looked at the strategy of having a biodiverse plant palette that helped to attract a different range of wildlife, right? Providing spaces for food, for refuge, all right, and for them to propagate, right? But this need to be done at the start in conjunction with all the other designers, architects, and engineers, so that the design becomes integrated, right? And not just as an add-on at the end of the design phase.